I never thought I'd have to fight another battle after serving my country. But when the HOA president mocked my disabled son at the community pool, I knew this was a war I couldn't lose. If you've ever dealt with an HOA that's overstepped its bounds, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Share your own HOA horror stories in the comments below. I read every single one. My name's Jim, and I'm a 68-year-old, retired veteran, living with my 28-year-old son, Michael, who has cerebral palsy. We moved into this quiet suburban community in Arizona 15 years ago, shortly after my wife passed. The neighborhood was perfect. Quiet streets, friendly neighbors, and a community pool that Michael loved for his water therapy. The HOA was run by reasonable folks back then. They understood when I needed to install a wheelchair ramp to our front porch, and they never complained about the handicapped parking space I painted in our driveway. Everything changed 3 years ago when Brenda Peterson took over as HOA president. Brenda was what you'd call a classic Karen, always looking for something to complain about. Convinced her way was the only way. She ran for president on a platform of preserving community standards, which apparently meant targeting anyone who didn't fit her narrow vision of perfection. Our first run-in came just 2 months into her tenure. I received a formal notice in the mail, a $150 fine for unsightly vehicle modifications because of Michael's wheelchair-accessible van. The notice claimed the lift and ramp were visually unappealing and decreasing property values. I went to the next HOA meeting, calm as could be. I explained that the van was specially equipped for Michael's disability and was protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Brenda listened with a tight smile, then said, "I understand, Jim, but we have standards to maintain. Perhaps you could park it elsewhere." I reminded her that federal law trumps HOA rules, and she reluctantly waived the fine, but I could see in her eyes this wasn't over. You wouldn't believe what she did next. The very next week, I received another notice, this time for improper lawn maintenance. The complaint: my grass was too high between the sidewalk and the street. Never mind that Arizona was in a drought and I was following water restrictions. Never mind that my lawn looked identical to my neighbor's. I hired a lawn service to ensure it was perfect, but the notices kept coming. Unapproved exterior paint color. It was the same color it had been for 10 years. Visible trash cans. They were out on the designated day for pickup. Improper window coverings. The blinds were slightly tilted. Each time I'd go to the meetings, present my case, and get the fine dismissed. Each time Brenda would smile that fake smile and say something like, "We just want everyone to follow the same rules." The real breaking point came last summer. Michael loves swimming. It's one of the few activities where his disability doesn't hold him back. The community pool has a chairlift that allows him to get in and out safely. We'd been using it for years without issue. That day, Michael was enjoying his afternoon swim when Brenda arrived with a group of her friends. She watched as Michael used the lift, then turned to her friends and said loud enough for him to hear, "It's such a shame when special people hold everyone else back." The pool would look so much nicer without that industrial equipment cluttering the area. Michael, bless his heart, has always been sensitive about his disability. He tried to ignore her, but I saw the tears welling in his eyes as he maneuvered his wheelchair toward the exit. That's when Brenda blocked his path. "You know, Michael," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "maybe you could consider swimming at the YMCA instead. Their facilities are better equipped for special needs." I was across the pool area in seconds. "Brenda, what the hell do you think you're doing?" She jumped back, all mock innocence. "I was just making a helpful suggestion. There's no need for that language. I helped Michael to our van, my hands shaking with rage. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the scene, my son's face, Brenda's cruelty, the way her friends had snickered. The next morning I contacted a lawyer who specialized in HOA disputes and disability rights. He reviewed my file, the endless notices, the fines, the harassment, and shook his head. "Jim, this isn't just overreach," he said. "This is a clear violation of the ADA. They're targeting you because of your son's disability." We sent a formal letter to the HOA board, citing the ADA and demanding they cease all harassment against my family. For a moment, it seemed like they might back down. The notices stopped for a few weeks. Michael and I even started enjoying the pool again. If this HOA sounds unbelievable already, make sure to hit subscribe. You don't want to miss how this ends. Then came the false hope twist. One afternoon, I returned from grocery shopping to find a notice taped to my front door. This one was different. It was an eviction notice. According to the HOA, I had accumulated over $3,000 in unpaid fines, and they were placing a lien on my home. If I didn't pay within 30 days, they would begin foreclosure proceedings. I couldn't believe it. Every single fine they mentioned had been dismissed at the meetings. I had the signed minutes to prove it. That night, Michael asked me, "Dad, are we going to lose our house?" I looked at my son, my brave, kind son, who had already been through so much, and I made a promise. "No, Michael, we're not going to lose our house. In fact, it's time to fight back." Our lawyer filed a lawsuit against the HOA and Brenda personally. We sued for harassment, discrimination under the ADA, and emotional distress. We also countersued for the fraudulent lien. The discovery process was eye-opening. We obtained emails between Brenda and other board members where she specifically targeted my family. In one email she wrote, "That van is an eyesore, and the wheelchair ramp makes the whole street look like a hospital zone. We need to find a way to get them to comply or get out." In another, she complained about Michael using the pool. His special equipment takes up so much space, and it makes other residents uncomfortable. There should be a rule about it. The most damning email was sent just after we filed our lawsuit. Brenda wrote to the board's attorney, "I know we're violating the ADA, but if we make it expensive enough for them, they'll probably just move. Most people can't afford to fight these things." That email became the centerpiece of our case. As the court date approached, the tension in the neighborhood was palpable. Some neighbors avoided us, while others quietly offered support. Mr. Henderson from across the street, a retired judge himself, stopped by one evening. "Jim," he said, "I've been attending these HOA meetings for 15 years. What Brenda's doing to you isn't just wrong, it's illegal. If there's anything I can do to help, you just say the word." He ended up being one of our key witnesses, testifying about the history of harassment and how it had escalated under Brenda's leadership. The day of the hearing arrived. Michael insisted on coming, sitting in his wheelchair right in the front row. Brenda was there too, surrounded by her supporters, looking confident and smug. Our lawyer presented our case methodically. The endless notices, the dismissed fines, the ADA violations, the fraudulent lien. Then he called Michael to the stand. My son, who had always been shy, spoke with a clarity and strength that made me prouder than I'd ever been. He described how Brenda's words had made him feel, how he was afraid to use the pool or even leave the house sometimes. When he finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Then our lawyer dropped the bombshell. He presented Brenda's emails. The judge's expression grew darker with each one. When Brenda took the stand, she tried to backtrack, claiming her words were taken out of context, that she was only trying to maintain community standards. But under cross-examination, her story fell apart. She admitted she didn't know much about the ADA. that she hadn't consulted with legal counsel before imposing fines, and that she had indeed made the comments about Michael at the pool. The judge didn't take long to make his ruling. He banged his gavel, and the courtroom fell silent. "In my 30 years on the bench," he began, "I have rarely seen such a clear case of discrimination and harassment. The HOA, under President Peterson's leadership, has willfully violated the Americans with Disabilities Act, targeted a disabled resident and his family, and attempted to fraudulently foreclose on their home." Brenda's face went pale. "Therefore," the judge continued, "I am ruling in favor of the plaintiffs. All fines and liens are dismissed. The HOA is ordered to pay $50,000 in damages to the Henderson family. Additionally, President Peterson is personally liable for $25,000 in punitive damages for her role in this discrimination." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Brenda looked like she might faint. "Furthermore," the judge added, "the HOA is required to undergo ADA training, establish a disability accommodation committee that includes at least one disabled resident, and submit to court supervision for the next 2 years. Michael squeezed my hand, tears streaming down his face. We had won. After the ruling, several neighbors approached us, apologizing for not speaking up sooner. The HOA board called an emergency meeting and removed Brenda from her position. Within a month, she had put her house up for sale and moved away. The new HOA president, a reasonable woman named Susan, came to our house personally to apologize. She asked Michael to serve on the new Disability Accommodation Committee, and he accepted. Today, life in our community has returned to normal. Michael uses the pool without fear, and our neighbors wave and smile when they see us. The wheelchair ramp and van are still there, but now they're seen not as eyesores, but as symbols of a family that refused to be bullied. Have you or someone you know ever been targeted by an HOA for necessary disability accommodations? Share your story in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel for more stories about standing up to injustice. Remember, sometimes the biggest battles aren't fought on foreign fields, but right in our own neighborhoods. And sometimes the sweetest victory isn't just winning, it's knowing you've made things better for those who come after you.